The story of G.I. Jill. OYJ salutes Marty Werner. Happy now. Katie and Ellen here. Welcome to 100 Year Jukebox. Ellen, would you please read today's magic questions?
You bet. 1. What do the initials AFRS stand for? 2. During World War II, all over the globe, what was the GI's favorite radio show? 3. What is the connection between G.I. Jill and the girl from U.N.C.L.E.?
In 1966, a reporter interviewed a pleasant homemaker from the wealthy suburb of Scarsdale, New York. The homemaker was known as Marty Werner, wife of Mort Werner, successful TV executive. And unbeknownst to most, Marty had a secret identity. 20-plus years ago, she was G.I. Jill, our troops' very favorite Armed Forces radio service host. As G.I. Jill, Marty's warm personality, friendly voice, and her spinning the very latest platters, 15 minutes a day, 6 days a week, brought hope and joy and home to our service members all over the world.
G.I. Jill, huh? Did the
Armed Forces Radio Services.
Oh, AFRS. I get it.
Yes, and the AFRS was a lifeline for our military members during World War II and after. It was via shortwave radio to some of the most obscure, difficult battle sites in the world. Martha Wilkerson was born May 4th, 1918 in Virginia. Her family soon moved to Southern California, where her father worked at movie studios as a title writer and designer. Marty inherited his creative talents, writing and appearing in local theaters.
Kind of like you, huh, Katie?
As if I could ever create such a wonderful, loving character as G.I. Jill. Back to our story. Marty was working at radio station KMTR in Los Angeles when she met program director Robert Mort Werner. They married March 18, 1939. It was a long, happy marriage, lasting until his death in 1990. It resulted in 2 daughters and a lot of good, creative work from them both.
Mort Werner. Why does that name sound kind of familiar?
Well, Mort Werner became vice president of NBC programming, but he's probably best known to people like us as the executive who backed Star Trek, even getting the money for the second successful pilot.
Cool.
But we're getting way ahead of our story. Back to Marty and Morty. After Pearl Harbor, when Marty had trouble getting mail from her brother in the Navy, she realized other people might have the same problem. So she conceived the idea of a radio show featuring music and upbeat talk that could be broadcast to our troops via shortwave radio. The U.S. Office of War Information agreed, and Jack and Jill, featuring both Werners, was born. But when Mort was inducted into the Army and became a major producer for AFRS, Marty had to recalibrate. The enemy had its Axis Sallies and Tokyo Roses, and
Hey! Did you know one of the Tokyo Roses was actually on our side? Secretly, she was helping.
Yes, and if folks want to read more about heroine Iva Tagore-Aquino, check out the comment section below. Okay, where was I?
Marty's husband had just been inducted, and there was speculation that the Allies needed their own Axis Sally.
Well, as Marty said, our men, those that listened to enemy propaganda, only listened because there was nothing else for them to listen to. She thought our boys needed a real voice from home, not full of threats and pain and despair, but nice, pleasant, sincere, a girl to come home to. So Marty created G.I. Jill, who was all those things and more. G.I. Jill was the girl next door, your high school sweetheart, waiting faithfully for your return, playing the very latest platters, and relaying the personal news from back home, letters from soldiers' wives, or birth announcements, as well as fulfilling the soldiers' requests.
I've read that sometimes G.I. Jill was the only voice from home for troops stationed in really obscure places from Kodiak to Canberra.
In no time at all, The powers that be, realizing G.I. Jill was extremely popular, moved her show to L.A., and soon she was carried by over 400 Army radio stations. From the very beginning, Marty took her job seriously, always treating her listeners with respect and friendship. And the soldiers came roaring back with love.
Is it true she got over 500 letters a week?
You bet. And she tried to answer every one. She sent them a letter and a photo, and they sent photos to her.
She joked that she was the only broadcaster who had a wall of pin-up boys. Besides photos and letters and marriage proposals, the guys sent her little trinkets they made, like a bracelet made from a plane's broken window, and some heart-shaped lanyards.
For 6 years, from 1943 to 1949, 6 days a week, G.I. Jill was there, with upbeat popular music, warm commentary, and local news. They believed in her, and she didn't let them down.
My favorite part was how the troops trusted her to do their Christmas shopping.
Although Marty was a young matron with 2 daughters, G.I. Jill herself was not married. For morale's sake, the AFRS helped guard her secret for the duration.
I don't know. In Marty's photos of the time, she could have been a college student or a young war worker.
My impression is that the GIs preferred to keep G.I. Jill as their special secret.
Maybe it was coincidence then that both Columbia Pictures and Universal Studios made musicals featuring female disc jockeys.
Oh yes, 2 very enjoyable movies, Reveille with Beverly, 1943, starring Ann Miller, and Something in the Wind, 1947, starring Deanna Durbin.
Why do I suddenly feel I've fallen into an old Remington Steele rerun?
After the war, Marty returned to script writing for movies, Hard, Fast, and Beautiful, for example, and for such TV shows as Bonanza and Ironside. Marty Werner had risen to be an executive NBC, and when they were in Scarsdale, New York, a reporter came to
Wait a minute! They were in Los Angeles. How did they get to Scarsdale?
Their house in Beverly Hills burned down.
Oh, no.
The fire took almost all of the G.I. Jill memorabilia with it, including the photos.
Not the pin-up boy wall.
I'm afraid so. It was a grievous loss. For the rest of her life, Marty wondered what became of some of her regular correspondence.
How sad.
It is, but she had a number of other projects to attend to. Oh, did I mention it was Marty's idea for the show that eventually became The Girl from U.N.C.L.E.?
Whoa. From G.I. Jill to April Dancer.
Marty and Morty retired to Maui. He died in 1990. She, born Martha Wilkerson, called Marty Werner, but immortalized as G.I. Jill, went to join her troops September 9th, 1999. After all, she said her work as G.I. Jill was the most important thing I've ever done in my life.
You can find samples of Marty's work in our accompanying lunchbox.
There's more data also scattered throughout YouTube.
Silly sister, all you have to do is get an old-time shortwave radio, tune it to a certain channel, and wait for a hot, sultry night. There, can't you hear it?
Hiya, fellas. This is G.I. Jill with G.I. Jive. And I have a request. Could you send me a photo? I'll put it up on my pin-up boy wall, and then I'll send you a photo and a letter. And here is the very latest platter.